I'm Mr. Grosso here, creator of Xenoplicity and the queue system it runs on. Today's video, just a brief little video talking about games that I dislike, games that I just think are poorly made. I don't like the mechanics, or I don't like the book layout, or games that I just think they're really popular for some reason, but I can't imagine why. And so let's kind of touch on those and cover that. Number one, at the top of my list of games that I think suck, really just awful games. Burning Wheel. This game is awful. And I've got the additional material for it too, the codex. I really had high hopes for this game. A lot of people raved about this game as if it was just super awesome. And then I get it and it's awful. It is so bad. It says here on the back of the core book, it says that it is an award-winning fantasy role-playing game. Here's the thing. I'm just going to go out and say this. If this game won awards, I think they paid for them. I cannot imagine in my wildest dream of a person who actually plays tabletop role-playing games, who's played more than one or any, buying this book, reading this book, playing this game, and then stopping and saying, this is the game that deserves awards. This game does gaming better than most other games out there, to the point where they need to be exalted for it. They need to get awards for it. I don't think that person exists. I really don't. This game comes in almost at 600 pages. And it's not just that it's 600 pages. It's that it's 600 pages of tiny, small print that is difficult at best to read. It is mind-numbingly difficult to try to read this book. It is just filled to the brim with just so much material. There's not a lot of artwork in the book, which in and of itself, I don't care about. But artwork does serve as bookmarkers, especially in a bigger, thicker book. It can help you find things quickly. This game doesn't have a lot of art, and so you end up with just text wall after text wall in small, tiny font in a huge 600-page book. I don't care that it's smaller size and that it fits nice into a backpack. That's all true. However, at the table, this is an impossible book to try to reference. Trying to even read it is difficult at best. Again, it makes your brain hurt trying to read this. Now, when you get to the mechanics of this game, they also suck. There's this weird kind of game within a game where you have to play cards in a special kind of order and try to like out-strategize and out-maneuver the person you're playing cards against at the table. And that's how you win like a fight or how you win a social exchange. It's terrible. I don't want to play a game within a game to play a tabletop role-playing game. It breaks immersion, and it's terrible because inevitably you have to stop the game to look up these special rules because it's not going to flow. It's not going to be intuitive because, again, it's a game within a game. And I absolutely hate that. I think it's a terrible thing to put in a tabletop role-playing game, is a mini game that you have to play out at your table to resolve whatever it is you're trying to do. Dice work, and they're simple, and they've been used for centuries, actually thousands of years. Dice have been used to resolve situations in a game because of how simple and how effective they are to use. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. No pun intended. Burning Wheel sucks. This is an awful game. It uses awful mechanics, and the book is almost, in my opinion, unreadable. And here's the thing. If you pick up both of these books, do you think I want to read 1,200 pages of material to be able to play a tabletop role-playing game? No, I don't. There's games out there that are smaller, that are more fun to play, and that are easier, and that don't require me to read 1,200 pages of tiny, small print. So Burning Wheel sucks. Don't get it. Another game out there similar, I have similar complaints about, is Fate. This game is not as big, but it's still a decent-sized book. I dislike this game on so many levels. It is difficult to read this book. I know that there are quick reference tabs throughout the book, so you might say, well, that makes it easier to reference. It doesn't, because the way that the book is wrote, it is wrote like a novel. You have to read it like whole sections at a time to understand what's being talked about. It is very poor for being able to quick reference things. Also, the way that it is laid out, it is difficult to understand what it is you're reading. I have had people that love this game tell me, well, Matt, you can't learn it by reading the book. You need someone that's played it before and they can just show you how to do it, and it's super easy. Okay, if I can't read the book and then understand how to play the game, then it is a bad game. Okay, it is supposed to be a book that teaches me how to play the game. If it doesn't do that, then it is a bad game book. It is just bad. It doesn't do what it's supposed to do. It fails that test. Okay, so I dislike Fate. I also dislike the fudge dice, the Fate dice, whatever you want to call them. I do not like specialty dice. Specialty dice are not a good thing in a tabletop role-playing game. Like, if I could just shout this out to all the game designers in the world, I don't know why this is so difficult to understand. There are a lot of different dice that exist that you can use. You don't need to create your own dice. Use dice that people know about and that can buy and readily get. If you get a specialty system that uses like special dice, okay, that means that as that game becomes less and less popular, it's going to be harder and harder to find those dice, or those dice become more and more expensive. I don't want to have to buy special dice to play your game. I have enough dice. I don't need to buy new types of dice that are weird or quirky. I like DCC. That's one of my favorite game systems. But it also does this where it uses weird die sizes like D5s and stuff. I just skip that. I house roll those out. The idea of having weird size dice, I don't find that cool. I don't like specialty dice. I'm not going to play Age of the Empire or games like that, like the Fantasy Flight put out, because again, I don't want to roll dice and then have to look on a chart to interpret the dice. I understand if you played it enough, you'd understand what the symbols mean. I don't want to learn that. It's a learning curve that I don't want to go through. There are enough dice out there that are popular nowadays, D4 through D20, guys, even a D2. Use one of those. You don't need to be adding additional dice to that, and you definitely don't need to be creating new dice types. Or Fate also has this thing where it says, well, you don't need to use dice at all. You can use a deck of cards. I don't want to have a playing deck of cards out on my table while I'm trying to play a tabletop role-playing game. There's a game out there called Dread. I don't own it, so it doesn't make these list of games that I hate. I'm not going to ever play it because I don't want to have a Jenga block up at my table while I'm trying to play a tabletop role-playing game. It's gimmicky, and all it does is break immersion. It doesn't add to the narrative of the game that you're trying to play. It's a separate game within the game that makes your actual game stop while you do this other thing. I hate these things. I absolutely hate them. All these other ways just do what dice do, but just take longer or are more difficult or create like more of a hassle of having additional stuff out at the table. So there's no reason for it. So Fate, it also sucks. Next game is Savage Worlds. Now, Savage Worlds is not all bad. There are things about Savage Worlds that I don't mind. Look, here's the thing. This is a smaller book in size, but look how small it is. Yay! This is the right size if you're going to do a book this size. It needs to be something small, something light. I like this book for that reason. I like the small character sheet. I like the generic layout of it where you can kind of make it your own. These are good things. The mechanics in this I think are okay. I don't mind them at all. So Savage Worlds has things going for it. Okay. However, here are my gripes with it. I don't like bennies. I dislike bennies. I really, really don't like them. And you might say, well, Matt, your game, Xenoplicity, it uses initiative tokens. What's the difference? Here's the difference. Initiative tokens do one thing. That's all they do. They let you have the initiative. They let you get automatic success. That's it. It's not complicated. It's not difficult to remember. A Benny does a lot of different things. And so it is difficult to remember all the things that they can be used for, how they can be used, when they can be used. It is difficult because inevitably players, they forget the ways they can be used. They want to look it up. They want to reference it. They get in debates and arguments about it. It slows gameplay down. And if you have more than a couple ways in which a resource like a token can be spent, people are going to forget the ways that it can be used. And so even if you played the game a while, it still lends to these conversations of, oh, I forgot I could use a Benny in that way. Oh man, how can it be used again? Oh, I forgot about that. I don't want to have that conversation with my players. I don't want to deal with that at the table. I don't like that. Another thing I dislike about Savage Worlds is I dislike the settings in the game. They're all weird and quirky and strange, and I think they do it. And it's like, I know it's like part of the whole Savage Worlds thing, but I don't understand why the Savage Worlds has to be weird and quirky. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't want to play on Mars during the British Empire fighting Martians in the 1800s. Why? Why would I want to do that? It sounds stupid. I don't want to play cowboys, but with demons and undead and zombies. I don't want to play Deadlands. Why do I want to do that? I don't want to play World War II, but instead of Nazis, there being vampires and werewolves. None of these things appeal to me. And I understand that this is kind of subjective for a reason not to like a game. And because it is generic, you can make the game anything you want. However, that's what Savage Worlds leans into. They are proud and boast about this. And to me, that's a turnoff. I just dislike the weirdness of it. If you cut out all the weirdness and got rid of the bennies, then you'd have a system that I would be okay with. But that's not how the game works. So you would have to house roll it a bunch and create your whole own setting. And at that point, just play a different game, right? If you dislike so many things about a system, just play a different game. You don't need to play the game. There's no reason to house roll something to death when you can just pick up a different system that does that whatever you're trying to do better than what that game actually does. Anyway, those are games that I absolutely hate. There are lots of games that I dislike or that I just don't have fun playing, but that don't make the list for whatever reason. So those are some games that I dislike. Thanks, guys. Bye.